Hello out there in podcast land. Welcome to the Game or Die podcast. The website is gameordie.net, and you can find me on Twitter at themadman007. I am your host, Ryan Moore. Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Game or Die podcast. Today's episode is going to be episode 13, and I'm going to talk again mainly about one specific game, and the reason why is because, oh man, this is a big game. So, after playing games like the base building games of Satisfactory and stuff like that, I tried going back to something like Minecraft in VR because I wanted that experience, but it doesn't work very well with the Vive, and my Oculus isn't set up right now, and so there's not really a way for me to play that. And I'm not a big Minecraft guy, but I see the appeal of it. And with NVIDIA basically putting out an RTX version soon. They actually just announced that they're going to put RTX ray tracing lighting into that version, and the screenshots and the videos look incredible. And it's like, wow, this is really cool. So I wanted something like that, and just the timing couldn't have been better. So 3 years ago, back in 2016, a little game called No Man's Sky was released, and they promised a lot. When this game was coming out, it was hyped beyond belief. Everyone was talking about how they could not wait to play this game. And for the longest time, too, they did not really tell you what the game actually was. You saw a glimpse and hopes, and they kind of vaguely talked a little bit about it in the years leading up to that game's release, and it got delayed over and over and over again. So it finally came out in August 2016, and you quickly realize there was not a whole lot to do in that game, and it was very much like Minecraft in a, hey, make your own fun type of way, but there just wasn't all that much to it. You were on this planet, and the whole thing was to explore the universe, and there's 16 quadrillion, planets for you to explore on their servers and scan life and flora and fauna and upload and rename the character or the animals what you want. And it just had a whole lot of potential. But the game itself didn't really have anything built into it. It was a very bare bones game. And so everyone was just upset when that game was released. And I was too. I bought it, sight unseen, unfortunately, back then. I think I got a few bucks off of it on Green Man Gaming or something like that. But I bought it for like 50-ish bucks or something like that. Pretty much for retail price. And I sunk about 9, 10, 15 hours, somewhere around there. I sunk that many hours into that game on launch week, basically. And I tried to get myself to like it. I was like, you know what? There's probably more stuff to do. People are just complaining. Early game was not very good. And I just realized, hey, there's not a whole lot to this game, and I'm not having fun with it. So I put it down, I uninstalled it, and I just kind of forgot about it. And then the next year, the first anniversary of that game, they announced I think it was called the Atlas update. And the Atlas update was going to say, hey, you know what? There's not a whole lot of story in our game, so we made a story mode. And people liked that from what I could tell, and they said, oh yeah, this is really good. And I think I tried going back to it, but I think I jumped into my save because I didn't want to start all over again, and I was just completely lost. So I quickly, again, put it down and said, you know what, maybe later, maybe when I have some time. Another year goes by. It's 2018 at this point. Second year anniversary update comes out, and it's called the Next update. And that next update did multiplayer, and it also did base building, I believe, and some other stuff. And so it was, again, another promise saying, hey, you know what? The game before wasn't very good, but this new update, man, you got to check it out. This is great. And again, I tried getting into it. I think I started a new save at that point. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go with it. And they added a second camera option so that you can play it in third person. And I tried both the first person and third person, and it just didn't feel good. The controls felt weird and wonky. The base building was just too hard to wrap my mind around at that point with a brand new save again and stuff. And I was just like, man, I am just not having fun. And I put like an hour and a half, 2 hours into that save, or a new save. And so I was just like, you know what, forget this game. It's never going to be what I want it to be. So I'm just going to stop. And so I stopped for another year. 3rd-year anniversary this last week. They put out the 3-year anniversary, which is called the Beyond update for No Man's Sky. And man, this is it. This is the game that I think we all hoped and wanted this game to be. They didn't really add, as far as I know, they didn't add a crazy ton of amount of stuff to it. But the one thing that they did add that got me into this game was VR support. I wanted a game, and this is why I think Minecraft in VR is actually super cool, is because when you build into a mountain and you create like this little cave-like structure, and you can add doors and burrow yourself in and create kind of like a little hobbit hole and stuff like that. In VR, it's like you're living in that world. You're there. You're digging your way in. And for me, I don't know, I have weird dreams a lot. And one of the things I dream about a lot is like burrowing and getting stuck in like very small holes. And I don't have claustrophobia, but in my dreams, I tend to get a little bit claustrophobic. And so for me, whenever I get freaked out by something or I'm afraid of something, I like thinking about it. I like kind of working through it a little bit. Just same thing with the ocean. I kind of hate the deep parts of the ocean. It's like some weird psychological thing with me where being in a big, vast vat of water where you can't see anything, you don't know what's around you, at any point something can come up and get you, it freaks me out. But I'm fascinated by it, and that's why I love Subnautica, especially in VR, because it lets me explore that in the safety of my own home. So with No Man's Sky, they added this VR support that allows you to do the same things in Minecraft. Minecraft allows you to go through and build these intricate cave systems and terraform the world however you want it. And No Man's Sky does the same thing. But now you have infinite possibilities of worlds to explore that are created for you. And it looks good too. That's the thing. It looks spectacular. Putting it on a VR headset is something I think every single person needs to do in their life. It is such a leap forward in technology that I still say I'd say maybe 4-ish, maybe 5 years away from VR being a very easy commodity thing to get into, because right now you either have crazy high end, you have Oculus, Vive, and PSVR in the $400 to $500 to $600 range, to $1,000 at this point, plus a very crazy high end system that will allow you to fully immerse yourself. Or you have the mobile VR stuff. You got the Oculus Go, the Samsung VR devices, basically strapping a phone to your face, or Google Cardboard. I don't think those are real VR. I discredit them because when people use those very cheaply made devices, you're getting exactly what you're paying for. If if you're spending $20, you're going to have a crap experience with a Google VR headset because it's not real VR. It's just stereoscopic view, and it creates some depth to whatever you're looking at. But most of the time, all you're looking at is videos. You're looking at cameras filming someone with that 3D technology, which adds a little bit of depth, perceived depth to the picture, but you're not in a 3D environment. You cannot look around and view yourself standing in a world with 3 dimensions, height, depth, and width. So I always tell people, don't, even if you've tried that Google Play or Google Cardboard and all that stuff, that's not real VR. Real VR is the PC VR. And so when you play No Man's Sky and you put that headset on, you are in that world. And they did an incredible job adapting that game to VR. Like, I gotta commend it to Hello Games because, wow, it is full motion control, and they even adapted the spaceships and stuff like that. And again, this is why my mind is blown away when it comes to this game. You getting in a ship, they added functionality for opening and closing the cockpit. And just that simple motion of you looking to the side of your cockpit and being able to see all the instruments, and most of them aren't able to be fidgeted with. You can't touch and have tactile feedback on that. But the thruster, the joystick, and the cockpit opener, there's a bar that, depending on what ship you get in, this game has multiple ships that you can commandeer, own. You can own a frigate and basically have an entire fleet or an army of vehicles at your disposal. So when I got the game, I got it, and there's DLC for pre-purchasing it or pre-ordering it. And so it was basically like a it looks like an X-Wing, but it's not an X-Wing. It only has the two fins, but doesn't have the 4. But this plane or the spaceship in the cockpit, you kind of lift it up over your side, kind of like a F-14 fighter jet. And so just that simple motion of you lifting up the cockpit to get in and out of your spacecraft in VR adds so much to the realism of making you think you're there. And then also, when you're flying your spaceship, your left hand controls the thrust, or your throttle, so you can slow down, speed up, and take off with that. And then your right hand is the joystick. Now this, right now, they implemented it, and it doesn't feel very good controlling and turning around because you're just moving the stick in VR, and those controls aren't they're either way too sensitive or not sensitive enough. And so it's really hard to just hold your arm in the air and be able to turn it 360 degrees. And the spaceship will only register so much of that degree of movement. So it's a little bit hard to control. But oh my gosh, if you are in that spaceship flying around a world, and again, because the way they implemented the VR, you have full movement around in the cockpit, so you can lean over to the side and actually look out the window to see something, and you can dip your airplane, or your spaceship, like an airplane, and be able to kind of roll, do aileron rolls, flips, and all this stuff, and look up, like when you're in a roller coaster and it has an inverted loop. And so you go through, and what I do when I ride roller coasters, I look up as I'm going through the actual loop or the inversion at the fulcrum point of it. I kind of get a little bit lightheaded, and because of the G-forces. Same thing in VR. You get to do all that stuff, and it feels really cool. And so you're thrusting, and what I love to do is I like to fly around the planet at a pretty low altitude. And I'm speeding along, and then I hit my scanner, and it will send out like this blast wave scan to kind of see if there's any anomalies or special things to find. So, like maybe there's an abandoned building or a distress signal. So I'm scanning the surface of the planet, pretty low altitude, and I'm going super fast. I got my booster on, and I'll scan something, I'll see it, and then what will happen is I'll go, oh, I got to get that. So I pull back on the thruster. I grab it and pull back as hard as I can, and it slams on the brakes almost. And then while I'm doing that in a full motion, I'm pulling back with my left hand and pushing forward and turning and kind of curling my right hand as the joystick to kind of dip the airplane into, or the spacecraft into like a almost a U-turn almost. And it is just, and also peeking my head out from the side to make sure that I can kind of see where I'm landing, and then hitting the land button, and my spacecraft will kind of do like almost a 180 pivot in midair and slam on the brakes and then land, and then I can go check out this stuff. It is just, oh my gosh, it is so cool. I haven't experienced this in a VR game ever. There's, at launch, back in 2016, there was also a game called, Elite Dangerous, I believe is what it is. And there was a couple other spaceship craft type games where they had like dogfighting and stuff like that, but it didn't have a story really, or it was just boring and kind of lame. This is an amazing addition to this game. This game is massive. And I could see myself probably playing it, what is called pancake version, the flat version, just the normal way of playing this game. But in VR, it is another level to this game. It is incredible the way that they added the VR support, and it just works fluidly for the most part with this game. It's still a little rough around the edges, and I don't think this game is ever going to be perfect, but man, it is. I have sunk so much time this week into this game. I'm already at about 28 hours, I want to say, somewhere around there, and I've been playing it about a week. So the last like 4 days, basically, I've just sunk every moment of my free time into this game, other than doing normal housework, taking care of the pets and stuff like that. But I've had free time this weekend, and so I just had the house to myself, and all I did was just play this game, and it is incredible the way that this game just feels and plays. Now, I only talked about the spaceship part. There's a whole other part of this game where you are doing exactly what, those Minecraft crafting games do. You are hunting around these open worlds and finding and mining certain items so that you can put them in machines to get the minerals or whatever it is out of basically refine the stuff that you find into different types of synthesized materials. So you got all that stuff too. Plus you got base building. Plus you got terraforming. And if you don't know what terraforming is ground manipulation, basically. You have a mining laser that you can just point at the ground and just start terraforming the actual ground itself. So you start digging into the ground and actually manipulating and changing the actual ground or the level itself, the world, basically. So I'll just kind of go bit by bit about some of this stuff. So what happens is when you first start up the game, you basically get a tutorial level of how to weather the environments. There's a lot of weather systems that are very extreme on I believe the first planet you get to is it's always going to be the same thing. You're about to die. You got to find shelter. You got to find cover. Usually there's a cave nearby. You get your mining laser and you kind of dig down deep into the earth, and then you start kind of going out and trying to brave the weather fast enough or find items so that you can craft some life support systems and stuff like that. And then after that, you start exploring and you come across this distress beacon. You go to the distress beacon, and there's a spaceship, but it's all jacked up. It is destroyed in a way to where you got to fix it before you can actually get in it and fly it. So you do that, you get it, you repair it, you fly it around, and then you are either immediately able to leave the system or leave the planet and go to another planet, or you can find, another part of the planet. Like, let's quote unquote say, if you were in New York, you could fly to Europe. You could fly across the halfway across the planet and then go to another location. All these planets are inhabited by aliens most of the time, and they've got outposts and distress beacons and just a ton of different things to find and play around with and explore, and characters to talk to. And this game, man, I am so impressed by how much they put this into this game at this point. Yeah, it's 3 years later, and yeah, they've been working on it for 3 years. Good for them. I saw a post on Reddit the other day about, we should all commend Hello Games for this is the gold standard of making this game and keeping up with a game and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, but at the beginning, everyone was super pissed off, and they kind of just did not say anything. They stayed in radio silence for 3 months after the game released, trying to put out updates and kind of put out all the fires of people being pissed off that the game didn't really have anything to do in it. So there's some give and take with that stuff, but I am impressed now. They've made me a believer in this game. It is mind-blowing how much they've added to it in the last 3 years. It is fantastic now. I can't recommend it enough, especially if you have a VR headset. So once you get to the tutorial stuff and you get off planet, you go to like a spaceport and interact with some more characters, and you can do trading, you can buy stuff, and then you go to another planet and you kind of do the same thing over and over. And then there's also a whole storyline mechanic, finding anomalies and trying to figure out who you are because you have space amnesia and all that fun stuff. But for me, I'm doing all the side quests first because I'm actually enjoying it. And one of the side quests is base building. So once you craft like a base computer, basically, the starting point of building a base, what I did is I went back to my first good planet that I found. And I found this planet that is like a beautifully blue skied planet with red grass everywhere and yellow, orangish, amber trees with red, type of leaves on them and stuff like that. And so this is like a blue and red planet. And it is just gorgeous looking. So what I did is I scanned around, and I found this area that had like a little bit of a valley. And then to the side, there was a kind of a lake. And then back a little bit, there was a very tall mountain or a hill. And it kind of plateaued a little bit and then went up a little bit more and then finished off. So what I did is I found this area and I went to that plateau area, and it had some clearing, a little bit of clearing, and then just crazy amount of trees around it. And I was like, oh, this would be perfect place for a base. So I sat down, I plopped down my base computer, and I just started kind of building a very simple wooden structure. 4 walls and a door and a floor and a roof. And once you do that, basically there was like this crazy radioactive storm that came through. And you have to take shelter. So I took shelter and I just listened to the rain and the storm going by. And I just hunkered down for probably about 2-3 minutes maybe until the storm passed. And the noise that the rain made hitting that wood was just incredible, especially if you're cranking up your stereo system or if you're wearing a pair of good headphones. It was great sound development. Like just the way the audio engineers put all that stuff together makes it really, really cool. So after that, I hunkered down, the storm passed, came back out, and I was like, all right, now I need to kind of get some materials so that I can build more of my base. And there's a whole progression system. You build computers, you build technology, you find hidden scraps of data so that you can get blueprints for other parts of the building, blah, blah, blah. You know the drill by these types of games at this point. So I just went out exploring. That's what I've been doing for a good chunk of my plus 24 hours of playing this game is exploring. And the only bummer thing about this game, which was a huge issue at the beginning at launch and still kind of an issue now, is the storage and the inventory management. I am not a fan of inventory management. And unfortunately, it's not still that great. They upped the count. You basically, when you bring up the menu system, you have your suit that has a certain amount of space that it can hold stuff. Your ship has a certain amount of space that it can hold stuff. And your suit can only, you upgrade it as time progresses through the game. You find drop pods and it will unlock inventory slots. You go to spaceports and you talk to the suit guys and they'll allow you to buy inventory slots. But those are very few and far between. So let's say you got your base, you go out exploring. This is what I did. I got in my ship, I hit full throttle, and I went out of the planet's atmosphere. I went up, and then I just kind of cruised along the outer rim of the atmosphere of the planet for, maybe about 30 seconds or so that I was a good way, far away enough from my base that I didn't see anything recognizable, and it was just all untracked territory. So I dropped down into the surface. I landed at a good spot where I went, peering out the side of my spaceship and went, there looks like there's a lot of different things to find here. So I land, I jump out of my spaceship, and then I pull out my gun and I just start scanning and mining everything in sight. When you mine stuff, you basically pick up the raw materials for it. So you mine a rock, it has carbon, and that carbon can be refined into condensed carbon and then can be used to upgrade stuff or build stuff. You do rocks, you do plants, you do the terrain, you find like mineral deposits throughout the worlds too. And so like you have copper, salt, cadmium, cobalt, nitrogen, stuff, gold, silver. You'll find these little deposits and you can take your mining beam and kind of just carve out and pull all those raw resources out and then stick them in your inventory. Unfortunately, your inventory is so small and there's so many things that you can scan that after about 2 or 3 minutes, you'll probably fill up your inventory slots. And those inventory slots, it's one per item. So, carbon is one. Condensed carbon is another. Cobalt is another. Gold is another. And so there's like 4 or 5 inventory slots just being taken up by just a few items. So luckily, with this new Beyond update, they've actually added a whole thing. So before, I believe you could only have like 1,000 of each thing or something like that. Now I believe they did 10,000 or 100,000 for each thing. So you can have 100,000 carbon. That's only taking up one slot. But at the same time, it's just one of those things where it's still not enough. they need to unlock the maximum amount of things so that you're not spending every 3 minutes trying to figure out, well, crap, what do I just need to get rid of? What do I need to discard? And if you discard something from your inventory slots, it just gets deleted. It doesn't fall on the ground like most things, and you can go back to your base and then come back and then pick all that stuff up. It is just straight up gone. So kind of a bummer. But what I do is I find an area, I start mining stuff, and I just put on some music and just have fun and hang out and chill out, man. It is a very relaxing game for the most part. There's animals, and you could choose to hunt them. Some of them hunt you, but man, it is just a very relaxing exploration game, and there's always something over the next hill. So you have this scanner basically in your helmet that in VR, you kind of bring your left arm up to your head and kind of grip in with the controller, the VR controllers, to where it kind of feels like you're putting your fingers up to your head and kind of hitting a button on your visor and scanning. So again, another great implementation of the VR stuff. So I just hang out. I scan something, I see it off in the distance, and I go, you know what? I'll make multiple trips. I'll scan and mine some basic stuff like carbon and oxygen and ferrite dust, which is another thing that's just everywhere on all these planets, which is kind of a base building material for structures and things like that. So I'll go do that for 20 or 30 minutes, fill up on as much stuff as I can until the point where I go, okay, you know what? I need to go back to the base, drop all this stuff up. So go back to the base, drop all this stuff off into storage containers. And again, well, for whatever reason, the storage containers, you can only have 10 of them at any given base. You have 10. And there are only 5 slots per storage container. Why? I have no idea. That makes no sense. What I'm doing is I made a storage container for oxygen. I made a storage container for ferrite dust. I made a storage container for sulfur or carbon or something like that. And so I only have 10 of those, and each one only holds 5. And there's multiple versions of this stuff. You have like carbon, condensed carbon. Any type of metals can be reduced into like, I can't remember the name of it right now, but some like condensed material and stuff like that for upgrading your ship. So again, the inventory management is just kind of a big pain in the butt still. So what I'll do is I'll fill up, go to my storage container, drop it off as much as I possibly can, and then go find somewhere else to do it again. And I'll, at that point, maybe I'll try and have basically only getting like raw materials or deposits. So I'll scan the area that I land for a deposit of copper or gold or cobalt or salt or sodium. And I'll scan all this stuff and I go, oh man, that's really cool. And I'll just do that. And then I go, okay, I should really go back to the ship and drop, and then go back to the base and drop all the stuff. But every time I scan something just to kind of check, I'll see something off in the distance, and it's only like 100 meters away. Not that far, 15-minute trek. And then I'll get that, and then I'll see something off in just, again, maybe a nearer distance. And so, or just a little bit farther. It's just a little bit farther. And I'll find myself like Hanseling and Gretel my way through the world where I have these little drop points of where I was, and I need to go further and further and further and further and further. That's the exploration of this game. That's why it's cool, because there's always something right on the other side of a mountain or a hill. And you have a jetpack, so you can actually, and once you start upgrading stuff, you can kind of fly for a little bit of time. What I like to do is I like to run, jump off the side of a little hill or a cliff, use my jetpack to kind of glide, and then feather it all the way down so that while it's depleting, I'm not going to die as I hit it, but I'm still moving fast through the air. And man, this game, it is so fun in VR. If you guys have a VR headset, if you want a VR headset, go get one. Spend the money on it as long as you're going to use it and you have the means to do it. VR is incredible. It is unlike anything else. So I might talk about Google Earth VR at some point too, because that's another application I can spend in VR for countless amounts of time. But No Man's Sky, there's something special about that game now. It is incredible the way that they have updated it over the years. They've made it better and better to the point where it is a good game now. I will absolutely go on record and say No Man's Sky is a good game now. Because before this update, it wasn't. It had little spots of greatness, but the whole game was not good. And this game now is just incredible. Just the way that they have that breadcrumb trail, the way that they give you the exploration, the way that the base building is actually fun now. Like, I'm actually wanting to, over the course of the next couple of weeks, keep playing this game, hopefully, and exploring other worlds and doing the main story stuff. But I'm not in a hurry like I usually am to finish a game and move on to the next one. There's not really a whole lot of stuff coming out. There's Control coming out in just like 2 days, or tomorrow, technically. But that game, I can wait because No Man's Sky has got me. It's got me, their hooks in me a ton. So I am just loving every minute of it. Because I actually want to build a base. I'm not that type of person usually where, this game has base building in it. Cool, let me do min-max. Let me put the minimum forth of effort to get the maximum amount of stuff out of it that I need. So like stuff in Subnautica, that has base building in it too. And Subnautica, like, I love that game. It was my favorite game of 2017. But the base building in that wasn't my thing, I would build a circular room, or a square room, and then put as many lockers on the walls as I possibly could fit, and then just dump all my stuff in there. Just like the storage units in No Man's Sky. One locker would be for oxygen. One locker would be for fish. Or food. One locker would be for water and stuff like that. So this base building in No Man's Sky is actually pretty cool. And I want to make a cool base. I want to be able to have it uploaded to the servers and maybe someone comes in and checks it out or whatever. Or maybe I can play with people online or whatever. Oh, the online portion. That's right. This game has online, and I'm not a big online person either. But wow, the other night I was playing, and I loaded into this area that's kind of like a hub for multiplayer, and because it's part of the story. And I didn't see anyone for the first few times that I went there, but I went back to this little hub area called the Anomaly. And man, it was packed out. I just got dropped into some random server or whatever where everyone was there. Probably about 30 or 40 people in this server alone. And I'm sitting there. It's like 2:00 in the morning, my time. And I'm going through and I just see people running, jumping, flying, doing business, making deals, selling stuff, buying stuff, changing their appearance. And I just stood up because I was sitting down playing because, it's 2:00 in the morning. I'm not going to be running around my house in VR. And so I'm sitting down and I stand up and then I see someone wave at me because they're in VR too. So it has the motion controls. And I just wave back and then I just start dancing, just kind of because I'm playing music in my headphones. They can't hear anything. but I'm just dancing. And then someone in the game chats and it comes up on screen and says, hey, how's VR? How's the, stuff? And I was just like, and I didn't want to pull my headset off or get a keyboard to start typing or anything like that. So I just kind of nodded and gave thumbs up and stuff like that. And just dancing around while moving around in VR is just a fun time. Especially when people are there watching you and going, oh my gosh, this guy's having so much fun. Oh, this game is so cool. I'm so glad this update happened and stuff like that. So it is really cool. And I want to explore more stuff. I have my little home base. I found another planet. I found a snow planet. And I was like, oh man, the weather conditions aren't super great here. The temperature drops below like 150 Fahrenheit or something like that. And so you'll have your health systems start to drop as you're out in the environment. So you got to take shelter and stuff like that. But I was like, man, I need another base. So I was flying around and I found this little abandoned outpost that had just two little mobile homes basically. And it was in the middle of this like donut-shaped crater. And so on all the sides, the walls are up. And it's this big it's not even big, it's a pretty small circular pattern. And in the middle, there's this little outpost. And I'm like, this is mine now. This is abandoned. This is my base now. Plopped down a base computer, built a couple things. And now I have like this enclosed walls of Jericho type of little colony. And it is just so cool. And especially in VR, it feels like you're there. You look around, you turn, and there's trees in front of you, or you're mining, and there's plant life and animals. And man, I'm so enamored with this game right now. The last episode I talked about Satisfactory and stuff like that, and Kingdom for Keflings. Those are great games too, but there's something about VR that if it's done well or even remotely good, VR adds a whole nother layer to video game playing. You can get sucked into these games, in these worlds, in these environments. And that's where, back in 2014, it was really cool to see, someone rip the data out of Luigi's Mansion or Resident Evil and be able to kind of walk around and teleport through this game environment. But man, when their game environments are built around VR and you're seeing that stuff, it is on a whole nother level. It is incredible. And it's only going to get better and better. And I'm blown away by the fact that this game came out just several months after consumer VR was even a thing. Just a couple months. And this game wasn't developed for VR. But I remember back then I said, oh man, I wish that game was in VR because it would be a whole lot better. 3 years later, they did it. They implemented VR into the game that was already 3 years old. And they pulled it off. They made it so much better than it is, or than it was. It is unlike anything else I've ever played. It's similar in some aspects, but it is unlike anything. Because every one of us was a kid at some point, and we sat in a cardboard box or sat in our parents' cars and pretended we were space astronauts and that we were flying around the universe and exploring, far off distant alien worlds. I remember I lived in this cul-de-sac when I was a kid. And on the other side of the street, it was just kind of a lot of plants and bushes and stuff like that. And my next door neighbor, Vito, and I, we would go across the street and we would play in those bushes and we create little forts and stuff like that. And we pretend we were in Star Trek and exploring a alien world and coming across things we've never seen before. Every one of us used to do stuff like that. And with VR and video games, it gives us a chance to relive those, but way better than what our imaginations can perceive, our mind's eye, because you can only imagine something for so long until you really need to see it with your actual eyes. And that's what VR does. It allows you to see these things. And your brain is tricked into thinking you were sitting there. I just got out of like a 3-hour VR session. I just sat in a chair and played this game for 3 hours. And I took that headset off and I went, oh, that's right. I'm sitting in a chair in my house. I've got my cats behind me. I got my dog next to me, and I got a TV in front of me. But I felt like I was all alone in a distant land on a snow-covered, freezing planet for 3 hours. It does something so much different than any other type of medium can do. VR is incredible. It's the future of technology, and people don't give it enough respect. I really don't think they do. VR is super, super cool, but you gotta do it the right way. Get someone who has that stuff available to you, or go to a place that doesn't just have the little kids stuff, because anyone can emulate, a tennis racket, like the Wii did. Remember how big the Wii was just because of motion controls? Everyone, grandparents and parents played that stuff. I had my parents playing the Wii when I first got it, and they went, oh, this is really cool, golf and boxing and tennis. That has nothing on VR. VR is on a whole other level. It's like watching your friends pretend to box versus watching a heavyweight championship boxing match. It is on a whole other level. Same thing with the cardboard VR. That's not VR. That is strapping a phone to your face and watching some videos with some depth to them. Not even a good amount of depth, just a little bit. Oh, it is unlike anything I've ever experienced in my life. And I've been playing around with VR since 2014. It's been 5 years, right? 2014 to 2019? Yeah. 5 years. And it is so much better than it was 5 years ago. So much cheaper than it was 5 years ago. And it's only gonna get better. So I encourage everyone to talk to someone who has an actual real VR setup. Go play around with it, because it is unlike anything you've ever experienced in your life. So, that's going to do it for this episode of the Game or Die podcast. I am your host, Ryan Moore. Thank you very much for listening. And hopefully, I'll catch you next time. And hopefully, if you want to drop me a line, ryan@gameordie.net, or you can visit us online at gameordie.net and take a look at some of the stuff that I've been posting, not just the podcast, but also video game reviews and articles and movie reviews and fun stuff like that, because I got a whole lot to say. If you can't tell, I've been just talking for about almost 50 minutes just about one game. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode, and I will catch you next time.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Old West. Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna hang a man today. Yeah. His name is Chad, he's from the future, and he's done somebody wrong. There's a new sheriff in town. check. We're gonna throw a rope around this man's neck. I want you all to clap when you hear his neck snap. There's a new sheriff in town, so sit down, so sit down. I'm the star,
You're the star,
I'm the star,
you're the star,
I'm the star,
you're the star of the guitar.
I'm the star,
You're the star,
I'm the star,
you're the star,
I'm the star,
you're the star of the guitar.
I'm the star.